I'm baffled by the lack of preparation going into a the highest profile interview she has, as you described, Dan, the highest profile interview that she has given. For example, the Democrats knew that immigration was going to be all about immigration. They were going to come out, Brett was going to come out smoking on immigration, and he would culminate his lament over how awful the situation is with pictures of the victims. I mean, that's the Republican playbook. It was obvious that it was coming. How could she not be ready to answer Lincoln Riley and Molly Tibbetts and so forth? Let me just read this. This is from the father of Lincoln Riley. I think it's being used politically to get those votes. It makes me angry. I feel like they're just using my daughter's name, and she was much better than that. And she should be raised up for the person that she was. She was an angel. Why couldn't the vice president say these, as she did, that these are tragic deaths and the hearts go out and you're punched in the gut by it, but also say that these people or these poor victims are being used for political purposes? To me, that's politics 101. I'm not a politician. I'm not an expert in this, but I know a thing or two about debates, and it just seems to me that she missed an opportunity. Her briefers did, and from this moment on, I advise them to not be the doormat when it comes to this issue. It is their biggest Achilles heel. There's no doubt about it. If Donald Trump wins, it will be largely because of the immigration issue and the fact that Democrats not only blew the reality on the border over the last 3+ years, but they don't know how to respond to it, I think is malpractice.
All right, before I play more sound, Sean Spicer, reaction to the interview.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually largely in agreement with Geraldo. They knew this was coming, but more importantly, they did it for a reason, right? You went on Fox News to speak to an audience that you normally don't speak to. I kind of have adopted the phrase that other people have used called Kamala curious. People are willing to give her a thought or a pass because they don't know her. She didn't do any good tonight to move the needle in her direction. In fact, I would argue, for exactly the same reasons that Geraldo laid out, she was unable to answer the basic questions on immigration. She knew what was coming. And think about it. The View the other day asked her, what's the one thing that you would do different than Joe Biden? And her answer is, I can't think of anything. Those are layup questions that every candidate should be ready to answer. And I don't know if it's the staff or if it's her. Maybe it's a combination of both. But the reality is that you do an interview with a particular outlet to attract a certain amount of support, hopefully, from a constituency that they reach. She did Fox News for a reason, and she didn't do any favors for her campaign tonight. I would argue she actually moved the needle backwards. The bottom line is, you were right at the jump, Dan. When you look on conservative media tonight, everybody is mocking this debate. So if your goal was to reach people who normally watch Fox that might have been Kamala curious, you utterly failed.
Let me play a little more sound. This is Brett Baier asking her about President Biden's mental acuity. This is number 4.
He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable?
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room, and he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And Donald Trump
but
is.
You talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him at least once a week for 3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns?
I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump, which is why the people who know him best, including leaders of our national security community, have all spoken out.
Geraldo, I thought some of the questions felt like sort of, right-wing talking points. I thought that was a very fair question from Brett Baier there to ask about when she learned. I thought a number of his questions were very, very fair.